Live from the Export Beer Garden studio and brought to you as always by Export Ultra, the beer for here. This is the Agenda podcast for the 2nd of September.
The Agenda podcast, the home of sporting nonsense and claptrap. Brought to you by Export Ultra.
Made it through winter.
Oh, is it spring?
Spring sprung yesterday.
It certainly did.
The grass has riz. Wonder where the flowers is. It felt like, at least up in the top of the North Island, that the weather woke up and was just like, oh, fuck, is it spring? Yeah, right, here goes, go.
Here you go. Bit of lightning and thunder overnight just to finish winter off.
Yep. And then sunshine, rainbows, lollipops the next day. Went out for a pint on the North Shore over your neck of the woods yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Bloody beautiful over there. Rosie's Red Hot Cantina.
Overlooking the playground?
Overlooking the playground, absolutely rammed to the gills. Good thing about that playground, it's a beautiful playground. Quite tall lighthouse sort of fixture.
Yeah.
And then there's like a drawbridge your kids can crawl across to like another thing. And it's all entirely enclosed.
Yeah.
Obviously from a safety perspective. But then also, I presume once your kids are in there, it's like, fuck, whatever goes on, I know where they are.
Yeah, well, I spent a lot of time at that Chakapuna playground and a lot of time at that particular bar you were at.
Yes.
Where you could get a seat on the balcony and you could have a line of sight of the playground. And I reckon you could get through 3 pints before your kids notice you were missing.
Yep.
And then they'd be looking around. And then you go, okay, and you got to go show face and then send them back up the tower and then go order another beer.
Because there's that period there where a kid's like, shit, as long as I stay quiet, Dad's not going to notice that I've been on this playground for ages.
Yeah. And meanwhile.
Yeah. You're on the other side, man. Like, as long as I stay quiet, I can get about 10 more beers. I don't understand why in New Zealand we don't have more playgrounds at pubs. I feel like that should be a staple of a New Zealand pub.
I think it's pretty punishing for people who don't have kids.
Definitely, yeah.
So I think that's where that comes down to. Like, you want to go to, hey, mate, you want to go to this pub? It's got a massive full playground and your mate's got no kids. You can go get fucked.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
I'm going to go to basically the same thing but without the kids.
Yeah.
How about that? What about playgrounds for adults?
I don't want to take my kids to the pub.
Essentially, that is a pub. Yeah.
So don't encourage me.
That's fair. That is fair. Across the weekend, the greatest New Zealander is getting to the pointy end as well. Upham beat Stacey on Saturday. My dad rang me yesterday afternoon. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers globally. And he said Upham's going to take the whole fucking thing out.
Yeah?
He's going to win the whole thing.
Do you think?
He's like, there's just people, people love Charlie Upham. I also said that I think that Charlie Upham was just lucky he was born when he was.
Yeah.
Because at any other point in history, he might have been a bit too much for the general population.
Yeah. He was, if you read that Chasing Charlie book, he's, yeah.
His full noise.
Yeah.
Apparently a good bugger, the old man was in the army, so came across him a couple of times, I think.
I'd certainly want him in my battalion.
Oh, yeah.
I'd certainly want him at the front with a backpack full of grenades, just hiffing them into machine boxes there, left, right and centre. Unfortunately,
on Saturday he went into Stacey Jones' pillbox with a backpack full of 15 grenades and lit him up.
Yeah.
So that's the end of Stacey Jones for the greatest New Zealander of all time. And then the quarterfinals kicked off. Actually kicked off with Upham v Stacey. And then Dame Lisa yesterday beat Bruce McLaren in the first quarterfinal.
Ooh. So I do think that's recency bias, but there you go. That's me. I did vote for Bruce.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Yeah.
Things are getting really heated in the comments on that one as well. I didn't think Bruce. I don't think Bruce. Well, look, he made some fast cars. I don't think about Bruce McLaren very often,
It's a global brand, though.
It is, but I only live in New Zealand. So I don't, if I lived all over the world, that would probably have a bigger...
Potentially one of the biggest global brands outside of the All Blacks. You got All Blacks, McLaren. I guarantee if you say to someone, what's a McLaren, they'd say it's a car.
Maybe.
But it's not associated with New Zealand so much. People probably don't know that it was a Kiwi. But we do.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all I think of when every now and then if I see a McLaren, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, that Kiwi dude made those.
And also you think about how big Formula One is now. And McLaren are knocking on the door.
Are they?
Yeah. Yep, they are putting the shits up Red Bull.
Right.
Van Strap-on is in trouble.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
I don't know. Well, anyway, apparently neither does anyone else. So that's why Lisa beat Bruce McLaren in the first quarterfinal. And then today, it's Richie versus Dave Dobbin.
It's going to be a bloodbath, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I love Dobbo, but Richie will take him.
I think it's got to be Richie as well.
Yeah, it's only going to get spicy when Richie comes up against Dame Lisa or Upham.
Yeah.
Or Hillary.
Yeah.
Hillary, not Hillary Barry. She's gone.
No, she's gone.
Yeah.
Rest in power, Hills Bears. Yeah, I really think that Upham's going to take the whole thing out. And I just think that why that is because a lot of these people are like the kind of trivial. Harold the Giraffe, no disrespect to him, and shout out to the Life Education Trust for getting involved when he was up against Richie, yeah. God bless them. They had a crack. They shared it on their own Instagram. But Charles Upham was a war hero and something that was actually quite consequential. One of the most consequential conflicts of maybe human existence. And he, played a big part in it. So it's like that versus just the four square guy.
Yeah, well, what about a final of Sir Edmund Hillary versus Charles Upham?
I think, again, Charles Upham,
You reckon?
Yeah, because if Ed Hillary didn't climb that hill, someone else was going to.
Yeah, but he also drove a Massey Ferguson to the South Pole.
Yeah, but if he didn't do that, I dare say no one would have, and we still would have been sweet, But if Charlie Upham didn't charge those pillboxes with nothing but a fucking, a Kiwi flag and 15 grenades.
A G-string and a Kiwi flag.
Yeah. And a grenade pin between his teeth, then, we might be speaking German. And I think that's why he's running roughshod over the competition so far. And I also think that's probably the same for Richie, because if he, wasn't the captain, we may not have won those World Cups.
Maybe.
I dare say the Port Hills would still be on fire if he wasn't flying his helicopters.
100%.
So, yeah, I think that they're heading for a collision course. I need to check it's quarterfinals now, so yeah. I reckon it's going to be those two.
So will we have a winner by the end of the week?
We're going to have a winner by the end of the week. We're going to have crowned the greatest New Zealander of all time. And that's when the hard work begins, because we then need to start campaigning Chris Luxon to change the $20 note, which, if you don't remember, at the start of this whole thing, we realised that the $20 note doesn't have a famous New Zealander on it. All it's got is, on one side, a hawk, which I pray they have a licence for, and then on the other side, it's got the Queen.
Queenie's dead, so...
She ain't the Queen no more.
Yeah.
So we've got to replace her, and I think it's boring to replace her with the King. So we need to campaign for whoever our greatest New Zealander of all time is.
That's true, actually. I don't want big ears on our $20 note.
And if it's Ed Hillary, then he's going to be on two.
That's true, actually. He's already got one.
He's going to be on the 5 and he's going to be on the 20. So God bless him. Maybe that counts against him when he comes up against someone else.
True.
Charlie Upham on the $20 note, I don't think anyone would have a problem with that.
Just he should be mid-throw.
Yeah.
Like with a grenade in hand.
Yeah, 100%. Or Richie. I don't think anyone would have an issue with that.
No.
Dave Dobbin, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, all right, let's take a break. There has been so much sport over the weekend. We need to dive into all of it, so we'll take a quick break and come right back. Let's start at the top with the All Blacks, G Lane. This morning I was going at the gym. Did you think we'd be straight into the gym that quickly?
No.
Anyway, we are.
Yeah. You go to the gym quite often, do you?
Quite often, yeah.
Yeah.
And I see, the same people. When you go that frequently, you sort of get to know each other. And
do you do anything there? Or you just go there?
Yeah, that was a pretty gruesome back and bicep session this morning. Right. And if you don't believe me, you can ask my dear friend Ian Jones, who I saw again this morning at the gym.
Yeah.
And when I saw him, he was on the bench press. He comes over, walked over and said good day to him, and he goes, "Discipline, man." And I was like,
I'm here.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was just like, Monday's the most important day, Carmo. I'm here. I'm doing the damn thing. He goes, "Nah, the fucking All Blacks." I was like, "Oh, yeah, of course, yeah." And he said, for him, it was just so disappointing, all of the penalties that we gave away. Penalty count was 14-5. I said, the TJ one did my head in.
Oh, the chatting?
He yelled at the ref. He said, "What the fuck was that?" to the ref. And the ref immediately pinged him for it. And Carmo was saying, he didn't mind that one because it was like random. You couldn't have predicted that. But there were a lot of other ones that were like, come on, the ref's blowing this up tonight. So why do you keep doing it?
I don't blame TJ because that penalty, I don't think he was yelling what the fuck was that to the ref. That South African player was all over the place on the other side of the ruck. And
yeah.
He's a sitting duck for milking those penalties. And he tripped over him, and I think it's when he said, "What the fuck is that?"
Yeah, he wasn't saying what was that for not calling it.
No, he was like the fact that this guy was rolling around on his side of the ruck. So, but it did shut him up.
Did it well?
But they played well. Shit, they played well. For 70 minutes, that first half, I thought they played well. I thought we were into it. I had Ian Jones, I had Carmo in the back of my head yelling at me.
Yeah. Discipline.
Yeah, and also, the player of the day goes to the South African broadcaster for not playing the angle of the Mbongi knock-on.
Yep.
They've saved that replay until the kickoff had been taken.
Yes.
Which means it's impossible to go back.
Yeah.
So good on them. Congratulations to them.
Yeah, they did a great job. I got to be honest, the spectacle of that game was fucking awesome.
How close are the crowd?
Oh, the crowd are right on top of you. The eye level with the field as well. I feel like the field's like marginally raised or something.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
The stands rise vertically. So basically they've hung the gallery off the side of basically a vertical stand. They're all right on top of you. The flyover was sick. There were like fireworks that went off. It was just incredible. It was such an atmosphere. And I was watching it with my missus yesterday, and she was just like, I've never seen a crowd this fired up for a rugby game. They were going nuts.
They fucking love it.
They were going apeshit. There was a guy dressed up as Drickus du Plessis in the crowd. Did you see that?
No.
The camera zoomed in on the crowd, and he's in there, and he's shirtless with these like pit vipers and a fake UFC belt on. They were going apeshit, man. They were chanting the whole way through the haka.
And what timing for the flyover in the middle of the haka as well?
Yeah.
So it drowned out the haka. They let fireworks off. They were singing some song. I don't know what song they were singing between the haka, but the All Blacks, the first 20 minutes, they were all over South Africa. And then that last 10 was very un-All Blacks, that last 10. We never dropped nuts in the last 10, but we have done in the last few test matches, particularly against Argentina.
Yeah, I thought because I didn't, look, full disclosure, I did not set an alarm and watch this at 3 a.m. I watched it when I woke up on Sunday morning. I woke up, made breakfast for my missus, took her to church, came home, and then watched the replay. And I didn't do any of that. And when there was about 15 minutes left to go, I was like, how the fuck do we lose this?
Yeah.
Like it was 27-19. I was like, we don't lose from here. But I knew the score. So I was like, this is wild. I'm interested to see how this comes about. And it just sort of, it didn't happen in a blink of an eye. It just happened over time. You're like, all of a sudden, you're like, hang on, are we losing? And then I felt like in our last 5-10 minutes, we were still kicking the ball away when it was like, we need to score a try.
We also turned down a penalty, another 3 points to take it just that further away from them when it was, I think it was 27-17 or 2019.
Yeah, we're up by 10.
Yeah, and we declined a penalty. I was like, put it into the corner. I thought, come on, that's a little bit
almost arrogant.
Yeah, you want to take the points
because if it was a World Cup final, I think you would have taken the points.
That's what they need to treat it like.
Yeah, the Bongi and Bonambi try. I know that a lot's been made of it on the highlights, and I think that the reason it's blown up is because a lot of people, because it was 3 a.m., didn't watch the game live. That was the first try that they scored, so there was still time for us to rectify it. That's not why we lost.
No, but it was a pretty glaring.
But boy, did they bomb that goal. And it's like, I think that, and again, I was talking to a close personal friend of mine at the gym this morning, Ian Jones, I don't know if you know him, but he was saying, let's just bin the TMO. What's the point? Like, if you're going to stop down, go over all of these replays and still get it wrong, then bin it.
Well, they stopped down the replays, but they didn't show...
They didn't show the crowd.
They didn't show the replay that made it look really obvious.
Yeah, to anyone.
Nah.
Because I dare say the crowd would have picked up on it. They would have been like, oh,
well, even
shit.
you could actually see him after he scores it, he doesn't celebrate. Yeah. I don't know if you noticed, he just puts his head down and his teammates come over and, they got given and they celebrate. And you could tell he was like,
I did not score that try.
Yeah, and then the guy in the trucks go, hold camera 4, hold it. Do not release the footage of camera 4.
And Tony Johnson even said that on the commentary as well. He was just like, they're not going to, we won't see that replay again. And sure enough, they didn't. But I don't mind. I think it's even more egregious that you have all this technology and still they gave that. You know what I mean? Like, because if you went and watched like a senior B's game down at your local club, those tries get given all the time.
Yeah.
And only the dude and the good Lord above knows that he didn't score that try.
Yeah.
So, and that doesn't hurt as much as they have all of the different available angles and they still fucked it up. That's harder to stomach. But having said all of that, like I said before, we still had plenty of time to turn that one around. And also, I do feel a little bit of vindication for saying on Friday that I didn't think we were going to win this game. It's not something I like to be right about, but I like to be right. 14-5 penalty count, which is ridiculous. And the Ofatunga Fussy binning was probably one of the biggest turning points on it. As soon as you're down to 14 men against the box.
Well, there's a reason why his nickname is Off of the Field.
It's the position he plays as well. Like there's fuck all you can do. You're a big bastard. He's about 6'4".
I know, and getting down to do any sort of he's always going to he's always in trouble.
Yeah. So look, we play them again. What, next weekend?
Yeah. This weekend, back to back, and Cape Town.
Yep. How do we go at sea level? Do you reckon?
I will take the next one. I think they'll take confidence from that and say, hey, we had them for 70 minutes of that game.
Yeah.
And I think South Africa will be like, oh, shit, these guys can play.
If Ian Foster was still the coach, would we be calling for his head after that game?
Absolutely. Knock it off. Lob it off.
Speaking of big calls over the weekend, the Warriors, they won against the Sharks 30-28. And in the end, it was a Shaun Johnson masterclass. I've got to be honest, I called this game with Di Henwood on Saturday, and the Sharks ran in 3 tries just before halftime.
I went to bed.
Yeah, a lot of people did.
I was loving your call. I was enjoying it, but it was late, and it was 20 points to 6 or 20 points to 4 or whatever, 4. And I went to bed. I did, when we scored that first try, admittedly, I jumped on the bandwagon. I chucked 20 on the Warriors to win.
Nice.
I was like, these guys are on.
Yeah.
And then bang, 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 try. And I was like, bugger. And the only way I knew, so I went in the morning, didn't even look at the results. I looked at my TAB account and I was like, dang.
What happened?
What happened there? I'm like, is that a refund? And then it was like, Warriors win by 1-12. I was like, yeah.
You beauty. Yeah, it was, I got to be honest, this will probably be the most unpatriotic thing I'll say today. Not that I didn't care, but I saw everyone was so jazzed about that win yesterday. They were like, oh, the Warriors, they won. It's like,
I think it was more an SJ send-off.
Yeah.
It was more for Shawnee J. Like, if it wasn't his last game, I don't think there would have been that level of jazz about it and fizz, because it was the fact that he's pretty much set up the victory. It was his last game. That was what that was about.
Didn't appreciate, everyone had the same take on social media. It was like, oh, the script was in, beautiful script. I was like, no, the script
was in the grand final.
The grand final, yeah. The script isn't finishing 14th and not having a chance of making the 8 for the last month and a half.
Oh.
You know? But yes, if it was going to be his last game, then, you know, you could do worse than setting up 3 tries, 2 line breaks, essentially winning us the game single-handedly. Did you see his wife's sign in the crowd?
Yes. I can still play with Shaun Johnson.
I can still play with Shaun Johnson. Then I saw on his Instagram, he posted a screenshot. She texted him and said, hey, can you sit up in the spare room? I'm spreading out tonight. So it just goes to show, even if you're Shaun Johnson and you single-handedly win the Warriors a game and you last...
Well, let's just be thankful it was his wife holding that sign up.
As opposed to?
I don't know. If it was some random woman, you'd be like, oh, you throwing down with Shaun. And you're not... Oh, yeah.
Have you been watching any of the Paralympics across the weekend? We're on the board. With 3 medals.
Oh, on the board?
Yep.
I'll be honest with you, I'm a bit over Olympic, so I have not really dipped into this.
They should run them concurrently, which is where para came from.
Yes.
It's supposed to run parallel with the Olympics. But you're right. It's so draining watching the Olympics that eventually you're like, I don't know if I can do much more.
I'm also quite confused about how they categorize the... You know, like if someone's disabled with which appendage, and then there's the mentally impaired, and you know what I mean? There's a lot going on. I don't understand how you put someone with no legs against someone with no arms.
Yeah,
it's like how do they? What's the algorithm that they use to put those people in the different classes?
Oh, look,
I'm wading through something here that I shouldn't be.
Yeah. I'm going to steer you away from this one as well before you start speculating as to how they're doing that. Anna Taylor, she won silver in the women's C4 3,000 metre individual pursuit. Danielle Aitchison's our sprinter. She won silver in the women's 200 metres. And then Nicole Murray, she got bronze in the women's 3,000 metre individual pursuit. So we're on the board, 2 silvers and 1 bronze so far in this campaign already. But the one that caught my eye across the weekend was the Iranian sit-down volleyball player. Have you seen this?
No.
So have you seen the sit-down volleyball? So it's a great leveler for people who, like you were saying before, like if you don't have movement of your legs, maybe you don't have your legs. It makes a lot of sense. You're all sitting down, and so you're basically more or less stuck where you are, and then the net's lower as well. The Iranians have a player who goes by the name of Mirzad. He is the 2nd tallest man in the world, and he plays sit-down volleyball. He is the 7th tallest human in recorded history. He is 8 foot 2 inches tall, and he plays volleyball sitting down. He can hit a ball that is 6 foot 4 inches or 195 centimeters in the air from a seated position. I don't think I could reach that standing up.
Is he normally in a chair, in a wheelchair?
Well, That's a very interesting question. So he grew to the freakish height of 8 feet 2 inches tall because of an overactive pituitary gland.
Yeah.
When he was a kid and going through his growth spurt, he crashed his bike, broke his pelvis, and the rest of his body kept growing except for the leg on the broken side. And so he's got one leg that's about a foot shorter than the other one.
Whoa.
So he can't really walk. So that's why he's into the seated volleyball.
So he can spike seated.
Oh, fuck yeah. And they sit him right up the front of the net. Can you imagine going to the Paralympics for sit-down volleyball and you park up opposite a guy who is 8 feet 2 inches tall?
That's like all that footage of that under-16 women's basketball tournament and that Chinese athlete.
Oh,
yes.
about
She was
7
7
feet tall.
foot. And it was just insane.
Yeah. You're like, as long as the net is the same height in this volleyball game, we don't stand a chance. It should come as no surprise then. Since his debut in 2016, Iran have won 2 Paralympic golds, the only 2 that were available, and 2 successive world titles, the only 2 that were available. He is 3 times the player of the year in sit-down volleyball. Can you imagine coming up against that guy? It is brutal.
Yeah. I've caught a glimpse of that. I don't know what it's a special name for it, and I've forgotten what it is, but it's that kind of like bowls.
Boccia.
Boccia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the one where they've got like a ramp and they let go of the ball, right?
Yes, but they can throw it as well.
Yeah, right.
But they don't really roll. They're almost like giant hacky sacks.
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's quite good. It's just all tactics at that point.
Yeah.
I watched a guy yesterday with no arms shoot the smack bang in the middle of the target on the archery range. I think he won gold. It was like dead centre. Could not have been any more central. I watched him do it. I still don't know how. I don't know how he was holding it. I don't know how he let go what he was holding the string with, and he fucking aced it. It's like, Jesus Christ. And then they zoom out and show you how far it is, and it's like 30 odd meters away. This thing is ridiculous. So yeah, I've been enjoying the few bits of the Paralympics that I've seen thus far. I reckon they should get that bloke in at the 8'1" dude in a wheelchair and
8'1",
get him on the basketball court, get him on the old murder ball. He might be the first guy in a wheelchair to dunk at 8'1". All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, plenty of messages from across the weekend.
Yours, please. Brought to you by Leader, home of the lasagna topper.
And apologies to anyone who couldn't get their message through. We get so many of them across the weekend these days, so they can't all make it into the show. So first caller here, yours, please.
Yeah, Monday morning me again. How good was the weekend? The All Blacks should have won. If that try was ruled properly, we would have won. How good was the A380 or whatever it was flyover? Emirates. Has South Africa got that Dubai money now? They got that Arab money. They got that briefcase money, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. How about we get a flyover if our plane's working?
Yeah, I think they're sponsored by Emirates. I think, yeah.
It's Emirates Stadium now. It's not Ellis Park anymore.
Yeah, so I think there would have been an issue if the South African Airlines went over the top.
Yeah.
It'd be funny if they did an unsanctioned one and you had both of them coming both directions. That'd be fucking cool.
But who sponsors our stadiums though? So the Cake Tin Sky, so they don't. What would they have? Just like a free subscription?
Oh no, Air New Zealand sponsor the All Blacks. You know they've got all those ads of them pulling the plane and shit like that.
Yeah, right.
So you just fly like an ATR really low over the top of it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I was going to say like Orange Theory Stadium down there in Christchurch. They can come out and do a fitness class at half.
Oh no, it's changed now. It's the Apollo landing.
What's Apollo?
I don't know.
Forsyth Barr could come out and have a lawsuit.
Or maybe some investments.
Yeah, do some. Is that what they do?
Yeah, Forsyth Barr's investments.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. They're
well,
and then you got Eden Park.
No sponsor. Oh, Matt Heath could go out onto the field.
There you go. We could shoot him across the field.
Yeah, out of a cannon with a glass of red wine and a blue scarf on.
And a blue scarf and a Highlanders jersey on.
Yeah.
And a Warriors hat.
and a bottle of red wine. Another caller here, yours please.
Yeah, g'day, fellas. I'm sure everybody's got the same question. How come the William Webb Ellis Cup's in New Zealand? Didn't South Africa win it? What's the goss there? Do we just get it because we're better anyway? It's like, yeah, you bet us in the final, but you guys take it home. Seems a bit cucky.
We're just better guys.
Yeah.
So they gave it to us.
And also it's just a replica.
Yeah, anyone who wins the World Cup gets a replica.
They only get to hold it for 2 years, Carmel was saying. Like the
original.
The actual original, yeah. You should get it for all 4. You should get it right up until you don't have it anymore.
Yeah, they probably don't trust them. They're probably, because 3 years out, they'll be like, hey, you got that cup.
Yeah.
Gives them a little bit of leeway. Yeah, but everyone who wins it wins a replica. So New Zealand have got a few of them around. One of them's down in Wellington. One of them's at the All Black Experience.
Yeah.
And the other one is on the mantelpiece at Richie McCaw's house.
Is it?
I don't know. How many? We've won 3, haven't we? Yeah, there's 3 somewhere.
There are. Yeah. We they make you put on the gloves to touch it as well.
No, they didn't with us though, did they?
They didn't. No, you got your hands all over that.
Yeah.
All right. The gloves thing's always been so wanky to me.
Oh, totally is.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Another caller here. Yours, please.
G'day, boys. It's Chris Beacock here. I've seen on the news this morning, Team New Zealand's yacht got dropped from its crane after their race this morning. Do you think that might be an inside job to tie into the billionaire's yacht being hit by the torpedo a couple of weeks ago? Anyway, hooroo.
Oh, yeah, okay. So the conspiracy theory deepens.
How does AC 75, whatever it is, how does that tie into the whole thing?
Well, they just dropped it onto its cradle.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a crane driver who, I don't know if you've met any crane drivers, but they are prone to dropping shit every now and then.
I think they got their own crane driver. They flew him over. It's his one job.
Still a crane driver, though, isn't he?
True, actually. Yeah.
A crane driver on a plane, still a crane driver. Crane driver in Barcelona is still a crane driver.
Yeah.
And I've met a few. Did you see the footage of it?
No, I haven't.
It wasn't like a massive drop from heights. He obviously just like let it out too quick.
Yeah,
and
right.
it just took a square out of the hull there. I don't know. I don't think there'd be too much damage to it. Also, the hull doesn't touch the water.
They were up and racing the next day.
And won, I think, didn't they?
Again, someone pulled out. The French pulled out straight away, but then they had a tight race against the US or something. But it's all a bit, who cares until the final race.
Yeah, that's
I don't
right.
really care.
Another call here. Yours, please.
Okay, so when you become a citizen, here's what you got to do. You got to jump on Facebook Marketplace. You got to find the cheapest clapped out Commodore you can get. You buy that bitch. You jump in with all your boys in it and you start heading down to Hamilton. Now, you need to go to the Mobil, the middle of town, and a couple of houses down to the Tinny House. You go in there, you get yourself a tinny. You start heading back up to Auckland, cooked as a chook, pull over at Drury, light the back tyres up, do a massive burnout, and then get the car impounded. Now, that is how you celebrate residency.
I agree with all of that, except it's go to the BP in Whitiora, not the Mobil.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, because that's just down the road from Fairfield Bridge there. That's where that's where you go there, you fill your car with petrol and you get a few litres of diesel from the other pump and then just cover the road in it and light it up.
Yeah, it's a great idea. You have to do that. We, when I was younger, I drove from Waimate to Nelson and back on the same day, or overnight. We were basically in the car the entire time. To pick up a car from my mate's granddad gave them the car. And as we were driving back, we stopped about halfway down. He goes, fuck, I think this thing's rear-wheel drive, eh? And we're like, well, there's only one way to find out. So we took it to the nearest gravel pit, and he lit it up. And as he spun around, he sprayed a machine gun wave of stones, and it smashed both of the windows on one side of the other car that we drove down there. It was snowing, so we had to go the inland route. Like, we couldn't go up the coast because the road was blocked.
Smashed windows.
Smashed windows. The sun's setting. We're like, fucking hell. So we pull into the nearest petrol station. We're like, can we get some cardboard boxes and some tape? And so we had to tape up both the passenger side window and the back window as well. So if we're good luck turning left, the driver couldn't see shit out of the left-hand side.
Oh, I remember fondly growing up as a kid and going camping in Takaha, Waihau Bay on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And my friend's dad had a jet boat called the Green Machine.
Oh, powerful.
And we were swimming in the river in a pool in the river, and we could see him come hooning up the river, and he was trying to show off, and he did a massive, as you can in a jet boat, quite shallow, and just brought the arse around. But as he did it, he collected up a whole lot of river stones and just fired them out of the back while we all basically dived to the ground like Charlie Upham was biffing grenades. And we were all like, tick, 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 tick. And he was like, sorry, guys. We're like, fucking hell.
Just got lit up. Powerful stuff. All right, let's knock this thing on the head. Thank you very much for joining us on the Monday edition of the Agenda podcast. We will be back for a Tuesday edition tomorrow.
You've been listening to the ACC's Agenda podcast, brought to you by Export Ultra. For more episodes, like and follow on iHeartradio or wherever you get your podcasts.